Welcome everyone to the 100 CIO CTO Leaders in STEM Town Hall. It's with great pleasure that we welcome all of you from all over the country and some of you internationally to what we think is going to be a fantastic hour of learning and sharing resources. You know, we have speakers from NetApp, Xerox, Tata Consultancy Services, HP, Creative Artists Agency, SAS Institute, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And we are fascinated by the amount of data that you're going to be hearing from everybody today. You know, at STEM Connector, we always say that we need to really focus on jobs, and this is really a matter of jobs. We're really excited about what we're going to learn today. We know that technology, information are changing the way we do business, and we want to really hear the executive perspective from these corporations on how we're going to move the needle. How do we get more people engaged, not only into STEM careers, but particularly into IT and technology. So with all of these, Edie, you'll hear from our CEO, Edie Fraser, but you know, we want all of you to work collectively with us. We want to really develop a network of leaders that can really push the agenda, that can really move the needle, and that can really make a difference in developing a stronger and more diverse pipeline. So when we started the 100 Leaders in STEM series, the whole purpose was engaging senior executives to bring together their collective vision to really understand how do we truly make a difference. How do we work with corporations from the top to the bottom and from the bottom up to really engage not only coming up the pipeline, but those that are already in the workforce. How do we build them? How do we develop them? How do we make sure that the country continues to be #1 in innovation, #1 in research, #1 in development? And so the answer to all of these questions, it's now pointing to STEM careers, as we all know. So we welcome the opportunity to work with all of you to learn more about what we do, to learn more about our specific initiatives through food and ag companies, you know, men and women mentors, higher education, and all of the different products that we have around developing a STEM pipeline. With that, I would like to turn it to our CEO, Edie Fraser, who's going to give us some welcoming remarks, and then we're going to start a great conversation with all of these executive leaders, not without reminding you to please tweet. We're going to be using the hashtag 100STEMLeaders. We're going to have probably not an opportunity to interact with each other, but please pose your questions. All of these executives are going to be following the conversation, and this only lasts an hour, but the conversation certainly is going to last several more days and years to come. Edie?
Thank you, Lorena. And how appropriate that at Computer Science Week that we truly have 6 major CIOs, CTOs in celebration of the 100 CIO, CTO leaders in STEM. As we know, there is no bigger issue, as you all tell us, and as employers tell us, than big data, analytics, programming, and what we now know, cybersecurity, all the issues that chief technology officers and CIOs are leading in your employers. You are so important to your boardrooms. You are so important to your entire infrastructure. And so there is no more significant group that we could applaud today than those 100 of you that are part of this publication and of the chief technology officers and chief information officers that are in the strategic planning of your companies and their future. And with that, as Balaji Ganapathy planned with us as we reviewed our first 100 CEOs in STEM, the first issue that comes up with CEOs as we've interviewed them is technology and the scary focus of technology. Technology as absolutely essential, technology as a fear factor, technology talent. And with technology talent and digital learning and computer science, there is no more important issue as you work with your infrastructure, work with your business units, and work with your human resource officers. So again, a real salute to you today. This will be on YouTube immediately following the call, and is clearly a salute to you. You're going 24/7 for the nation and world. We truly salute the substantive work that you as CTOs and CIOs are doing. Lorena?
Thanks, Edie. Now we're going to start with our first speaker of this afternoon. We're going to start with Cynthia Stewart, our Senior Vice President and Chief Technology Officer of Customer Solutions for NetApp. And just to tell you a little bit of Cynthia, she is responsible for leading the end-to-end execution of NetApp cluster data ONTAP adoption for current and prospective customers while being NetApp's #1 customer advocate. She's also the executive sponsor of the NetApp on NetApp and Customer One initiatives, both designed to share IT's experiences using NetApp technology and to enable NetApp customers to succeed. Cynthia?
Thank you, Lorena. Thank you for that great introduction. You're absolutely correct. I am the CIO here at NetApp and make use of all of our technologies. And what we do, for people who don't know exactly what we do at NetApp, we're a data storage and data management company. So, data is very personal. Data is growing, and we provide solutions in order to help people store and manage that data. I want to kind of jump in and just talk a little bit about, our company's commitment to STEM. We are a technology company, and we have a number of programs here that, within our own company, we have a NetApp University. We also have a Women in Technology group, and we participate, in veterans groups and other areas around the country in order to help get the right ideas, so that we can continue to leverage that, give people opportunity, and then also build that next generation of technology product for the future. My own history and my own views on STEM have to go really back in time and say, as a woman now, but as a girl when I was growing up, girls try to fit in, right? They try to fit in either in a classroom or in a hallway. And they struggle. They struggle with, are they smart? Should I be smart or should I be cool? There's a lot of peer pressure that goes on. And quite frankly, I don't really know where that's, come from, but it exists. And, if you're smart, sometimes you're labeled as a nerd. And if you're, in being labeled as a nerd, if you're interested in things like math and science. But if you're not, then you're labeled as being cool. So, when I was growing up, I had to kind of straddle that and say, okay, I want to be interested in math and science, but I want to be smart or viewed as smart, but I also want to make sure that you can kind of fit into the organization, and that takes a bit to do. And if you look at some of the statistics, one of them from engineeringdegree.net, there's only 12% of women, females, that actually graduate, with an engineering degree. And then when you look at what they use their engineering degree for, only 20% of them actually go on and use it. They go on to other careers. And if you think about that, there's peer pressure, but you also need a network. People need a network. They need a network to be successful. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about what we're doing here, is we're creating people who are interested in STEM and people who want to do better things. So, what can we do? I have 4 things that I kind of wanted to cover with everybody, and it really starts when people are young, when girls are young. If you think about growing up, when you're young, your mind is fresh. You're trying to assimilate everything. And just think about a child learning to walk. They have no fear. They get up, they might fall down, but they get up and they do it again. With STEM, we need to give people the same opportunities when they're young. We need to be able to help them develop, help them find those areas of interest by demonstrating exactly what you can do with the different math sciences. Help them. We need to open up their minds so that they can see. You know, sometimes when you think about STEM, you think about, well, I'm going to end up in a laboratory or I'm going to end up in a data center. We have to open up the minds to other careers. You know, you could be a zookeeper, or you could even be a fashion designer using your math skills. So help people when they're young realize what you can do by having that strong basis in math and science. The other area, second item, is really hands-on experiences. You know, to me, learning by doing is very important. People learn in different ways, and to me, experimenting and trying things out. You know, here at NetApp, we've run a program in the summer where we've had girls come in, and I have to tell you, one of the years they built robots, and it was the most interesting and exciting thing I've ever seen, to see these young girls building robots there. When I was young, and when I was in high school, actually, I used to participate in a lot of science fairs and design different mazes for mice to see how fast they could move through. This is all hands-on learning where I could apply math and science. You know, at one point I won a trip to a nuclear power plant, which was an amazing experience that has stuck with me to understand how nuclear power plants are run. So giving people those experiences when they're young are going to resonate in their minds forever. The third area is, you know, getting people to feel that math is cool and math is fun, and not just about formulas. Math can be used for building a lot of different disciplines. I would say that math is a critical component of critical thinking. And people need critical thinking in every type of job, every type of role that they have in their career. You need to be able to go through different decisions and, you know, make sure that you are going down the right path. So critical thinking, extremely important, problem solving, and helping people do that. You know, when I was in high school, again, I had a math teacher, and she was a great motivator and a great mentor. If you fell down doing problems, she helped you get up. And she helped you understand that it is okay to be able to not be able to do things. The last area that I really want to point out is really being a mentor. Making sure that, you know, we encourage people, that we work with our peer groups, and that we work with the young community so that we can help show them the possibilities. You know, personally, when I think about mentoring, I like to tell people that everything you do doesn't come naturally. It takes hard work, preparation, and a bit of self-confidence. And helping build that network with young women, with girls, can actually help them build that confidence going into the future. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Lorena, for the next speaker.
Thank you, Cindy. And it's really amazing to hear you speak because we're so much in alignment. You know, you talked about hands-on experience. We have something called STEM Career Accelerator Week that now it's going to be a whole month for next year. So we're hoping to have all of these companies really open their labs and showcase what innovation is all about, what STEM careers look like, and really understand the full potential. You also talked about critical thinking and how it's not only enough to have the hard skills, but how do we really develop a whole skill set that really translates into workforce-ready talent. And for that, we have something called STEM 2.0. And also you mentioned about being a mentor, which is an initiative really dear to our hearts, Men and Women Mentors, and most of you know about it. How do we engage those coming up the system, those potentially entering STEM careers, but also how do we make sure that we continue to develop them once they are in the workforce? So for all of that, we applaud you and we thank you for your leadership. Next, we would like to introduce Sophie Vandenbroek, and I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. She's the Chief Technology Officer for Xerox, and she's also the President of the Xerox Innovation Group. Sophie has been Xerox CTO and the President of Xerox Innovation Group since 2006. She is responsible for leading Xerox Global Research Labs with the mission to create high-impact innovations that drive profitable revenue growth and maximize the return on the company's investment in R&D. Xerox Research Labs are located in Europe, Asia, Canada, and the US, and that also includes the Palo Alto Research Center. Back to you, Sophie.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you today. And indeed, at Xerox, I always say I have the best job because I get to work with the researchers, developers, engineers all around the globe, including our partners, to create the next generation of solutions and services. One of the things I did bring a few slides, so I will share some of them. I am totally convinced, though, that you require very deep science, technology, engineering, and math skills to truly be able to solve some of the big world's problems. So these skills are required to really solve some of these big problems that you see here on this slide. Today, our engineers at Xerox are working with city officials to help create a seamless urban mobility for citizens and reduce carbon footprint of big congested cities. Are we working with hospitals to help nurses and physicians provide personalized care for patients? Patients are the same with teachers in schools around the globe to help them provide personal education. And again, you can only do this at massive scale, right? Millions of citizens, millions of patients, millions of students. If you truly can automate, can do analytics, look at the data, and for that, engineers and big data analytics scientists, etc., are essential. So what is very important in order to innovate and provide services that can solve some of these biggest problems is to look at it from three ways, right? And STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, is one of the three key enablers to impactful innovation. As you can see here, the other two are human behavior and context, really understanding it, as well as new business models. For example, instead of selling big systems like printing systems, which is still some of the core of what Xerox does, today more than 50% of what we do is business process services in the area of transportation, healthcare, etc., as I mentioned before. But so that comes with new business models. But STEM is a key pillar. STEM capabilities is a key pillar to be able to really innovate in a very impactful way. So I will share 5 lessons as part of what I have learned throughout the years, both what I've learned in my 25 years leading innovation projects or large organizations about what works and what doesn't work. So let me get back to it. So the first lesson is really that it's all about people. It is being an innovator is all about being able to attract people that not only bring their intellect, right, their scientific knowledge, their technical knowledge to work, but can also bring their heart to work, because innovation is really hard, and unless you can bring their whole self to work, you don't have an environment where there is a lot of creativity or where we can really attract people from all different backgrounds, women, men, different ages, different ethnic groups, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people, being Asian, Hispanic, or across the globe, whatever the minorities in the different countries, being able to attract these people to such that we have really creative and diverse thinking to then offer services to our clients who are also very diverse and all around the globe. That is extremely critical. And so we have really embraced this idea of creating this inclusive culture for many, many decades. It's just a business imperative and very important. And I stress this because especially in science, technology, engineering, and math, where there might be a lack of individuals that can do the jobs that need to be done, being able to attract people from 100% of the population is very important. Next, also around people, is the whole notion of relationships, and I think Cynthia also built on this. You really need to have a strong network. You can have a bright idea, but unless you have a full network to help you truly launch your new idea and impact the world positively, it's just not going to happen. So being able to do that is is extremely positive. And again, as an engineer, I always thought my idea is just better than whatever exists today. It should just happen, but it doesn't. So again, creating a culture where people understand and truly are able to build these relationships, and there are many ways of doing that, is extremely important. Next, it's important to truly understand, be able to dream with our customers. So we put our science, technology, engineering, and math team members tied at the hip with our ethnographic experts so that we truly understand what kind of innovation we should bring to our clients. Another thing that I always stress with new engineers or scientists that join Xerox is continue not only your relationships within the company, but also with outside partners, universities, startup, government. How do we partner with the best and the brightest in the world? Not being afraid is also important. If we don't, innovation is risky, right? But unless you innovate, you're going to get commoditized. So not being afraid to invest, to learn, to fail, I think Cynthia also touched on that, is just so critically important. And this is one of my favorite proverbs. It's also behind me in my office here. It's danger, it's chaos, but if you cover the left stroke, it's opportunity. And so being an opportunity person as a scientist is important. And finally, I come back to individuals. It is so extremely important to have fun. I showed two pictures here. One is around having fun at work, one is around having fun at home, because unless you can truly work in an environment where you can be passionate about what you do, either because you're solving a big problem that will make a difference to the world, or you're working with colleagues that really become your friends, it's going to be, oh, that's my timer here. It's going to be very, very hard to be a great innovator. But also at home, and there was a picture of my family, and I'm extremely proud that between my husband and I, both engineers, we have six children. Two of them are still in college, but all the other ones are scientists or engineers, biologists, and etc. And so being able to have young people see that you can solve these big world problems through science, technology, math, and engineering is really very critical. And as a society, we need to do a much better job at that. Thank you.
Allergy, ganopathy, you heard me mention in workforce effectiveness for North America, for Tata Consultancy Services, and he's been head of social corporate responsibility, talent management, employee retention, with 22,000 employees in Tata Consultancy Services in North America. But he has been so key as well to Tata around the world. And Tata around the world, as we can see in the profile of Anat Krishan, who is in our 100 leaders, talks about the 324,000 Tata Consultancy Services in 46 countries and how they work with companies and sponsors. And we have a particular pride in Balaji and your leadership for helping to chair our STEM Innovation Task Force, leading the way to carry that STEM 2.0 that we talked about, championing digital fluency for what you have built, building your own Tata program called Go IT for the schools, and ramping up with us that we know 80% of the jobs are technology. Balaji Ganapathy, Tata Consultancy Services.
Thank you, Edie. Really humbled by that introduction, and it's great to meet all of you. Fantastic speakers so far. Cynthia and Sophie, your comments are so much on point. Today is a realization of a dream for me and a lot of people here on the call, because 2 years ago when this whole STEM movement within the STEM Connector Network started off, one of the key things that we thought about is the power of technology and using that to solve real world problems, and how we can bring the best and brightest of industries across sectors together. So this 100 CIO, CTO publication is really a salute to all of you and your leadership. I'm going to take a few minutes to share some perspectives from a TCS perspective, but also wear the hat of the information technology firms in the world. 46 years in business, over $15 billion of revenue, but most importantly, extremely diverse portfolio across all the major markets around the world, over 330,000 STEM talent that works for us across these countries, with over 100,000 women. So we're extremely proud of the diversity and the legacy that we have at TCS. I also want to give a shout out to our CTO, K. Anand Krishnan, who has been named and profiled in the 100 CTO CIO publication. I share a special relationship with him, having been head of HR for the CTO R&D division within TCS many years ago. And he leads an extremely talented group of individuals who are working on cutting edge technologies across the digital space to simplify the experience from a consumer point of view, to reimagine businesses and think about the future of digital interaction, but do it in a way which is managing the risk and security and compliance requirements of countries, of companies, and of regulatory bodies. I also want to mention that one of the key themes that our CEO has spoken about for the last many years is that default is digital, and which is very relevant today in this context, because anything that is being powered through technology has an influence of digital technologies as the backbone of it, whether it is through analytics and big data, or mobility, or social, or artificial intelligence, or robotics, or cloud. That is the context that I want to set to talk to you about what is happening across the world today. We are living in a very unique era. The divide between the physical, metaphysical, and virtual worlds are really colliding and diminishing at a very fast pace. Today, there are over a billion people on Facebook. That technically makes it the third largest country in the world after China and India. You also see the advent of technologies like Instagram. When it was bought by Facebook, its valuation was more than $1 billion against a well-established print media company like the New York Times. We also live in an era where data and content is being generated by people around the world at such a rapid pace that 90% of all the data on the earth was generated just in the last 2 years. This is what is happening in the world out there. And if you think about it, technology is impacting each and every field and sector that we see around the world, whether it is driverless cars in the automotive sector, or the healthcare sector, or energy sector, or any of the major sectors. If you think about it, retail, or telecommunication, or entertainment, all these sectors are impacted by technology. In fact, 67% of the software jobs today are outside technically the tech industry. They are in banking, in retail, in government, in entertainment, and these are the sectors that are creating the jobs that we've been talking about in the last several minutes. So why is it important to think about a STEM skills gap and also focus on digital technologies and the proficiency level of our young people in these technologies? 8 out of the top 10 jobs in the US is involving some level of computer science and computational thinking. Yet, by 2020, we're going to have only 400,000 computer science graduates coming out against 1.4 million positions that are going to be available. And these, if you think about some of the topics that Cynthia and Sophie touched upon, from a diversity perspective, only 12% of these graduates are going to be women, and less than 8% are from minorities or from marginalized backgrounds. So if you look at the opportunity that exists, from a TCS perspective, we've been working on 4 major platforms: One is to influence public policy and create an advocacy around computer science and the need to have foundational computing skills across the spectrum, from K through 12 to college to career. Using pro bono technology solutions to support some of the major efforts to merge and connect industries to education through mentorship, through job shadowing, through internships, and through opportunities that put real professionals into classrooms and in front of people so that they can realize that these are people who look and think like them and can become role models for these young people. Platform that is used for this purpose so that one person or one company cannot move the needle. Together, all of us can. That's what's the need of the hour. And STEM Connector and other forums like that provide a perfect platform for that. And I also want to share with you in a minute an example of how our employees are giving back through mentorship and skills-based volunteering. Wearing the STEM Connector and the STEM Innovation Task Force hat, for the past 2 years, we've been convening forums and talking to experts across sectors, from government to policy to advocacy to industry, education, nonprofit, industry bodies and forums, to understand what are these capabilities that can prepare a young person to play a great career in the 21st century workplace. And what we zeroed in on is what we call STEM 2.0. And STEM 2.0 is a pretty simple framework to think about. The current education system is producing graduates and students with some level of knowledge in science, technology, engineering, and math. And if we layer on top of that employability skills, which are the new needs of the workforce, business skills like communicating across cross-functional teams, working in a virtual environment, dealing with ambiguity, many such skills that are foundational today in the workforce and the workplace. Digital fluency, and this is something that I'll talk about a couple of minutes more. Digital fluency is basically moving away from being a consumer of technology to being a creator using technology. Every individual who has access to a tablet or a smartphone or a technology device is just a consumer, and we can convert them to become really a maker of technology if we empower them with the skill sets that are needed to solve real world problems. And that's been the effort that the Innovation Task Force has been focusing on in the past couple of years. We're convening roundtables at a national level and creating white papers that provide a blueprint of how to move from where the education system is today to add a layer of digital fluency skills on top of that, looking at great examples of states and cities that are having best practices and flagship efforts, and we'll continue to work on these. I also wanted to close with a couple of comments around our flagship program, Go IT, and invite others to participate in this effort. Go IT is an employee-led volunteering program to teach technology and digital skills to middle school and high school students across the US and Canada. And it gives them an opportunity to have an experiential learning, learn about careers, work in a team environment, and break the myth that technology and computing jobs only reserved for geeks and nerds. It breaks the stereotype that women cannot have access to these jobs by making access easy and engaging them in a very fun and cool technologies that help them solve real world problems. Using technologies such as MIT App Inventor and Scratch and Lego Robotics to be that bridge between industry and the students. I want to pause here and just reiterate the amazing work that's been done by organizations across the country in the space of computer science and digital fluency. The need of the hour is to amp up those efforts. The timing is great today. because everybody is talking about STEM, everybody is talking about the need to empower young people with technology skills. And if we act now, we can really ride on this wave and make sure that all the young people, not just those who are in affluent neighborhoods, but those who are in inner city neighborhoods who may not have fundamentally even access to these kind of technologies in an educational environment, can get that access through industry intervention, through cross-sector partnerships. Thank you, and back to you, Edie.
Thank you, Balaji. We want to take a very quick minute to help to thank all of our sponsors for this publication, clearly Tata Consultancy Services being one of them. But also quickly, we want to thank Cisco, Deloitte, Diversified Search, and also our partner, CIO Executive Council, and our media partner, DiversityCom. Now, we'd like to introduce Ralph Laura, Vice President and Chief Information Officer of Enterprise Group and HP Labs for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Ralph is a key member of the newly formed Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and serving as CIO for the Enterprise Group and Hewlett-Packard Labs, as we mentioned before. His objective is to help drive growth through a focus on the customer and partner experience and on meaningful outcomes through world-class processes, tools, and data. He believes IT functions should serve as value creators rather than cost centers, and that the path to value comes from business outcomes tied to user experience. Ralph.
Lorena, thank you. First of all, thanks for the intro and a great comment for the prior speakers. Just to be clear, I am formerly CIO of the Enterprise Group at HP, having departed just as we split the company into two pieces. But I'm very passionate supporter of and proponent of STEM education, and I'll just make comments in three general areas. First, I think to be successful in the idea economy requires more than just sort of ideas and innovation, right? This idea of an innovative mindset or having great ideas simply isn't enough. You need the foundational skills to draw from in order to be able to execute on those ideas, to drive execution, to drive adoption. Otherwise, you're just another kind of person sitting around a table saying, oh, I thought of that 3 years ago. But you didn't act on it. So you need the skills to be able to carry off this sort of transformational change that's necessary to be to have a meaningful impact. Two, the second concept, I think there are lots of skills that are currently in demand. As Balaji pointed out, there's some very specific technical languages or skills. There's, in general, the idea of computer programming, data scientists, IT operations or DevOps skills, and so on. Are meaningful. They're meaningful now. They may not always be meaningful. Some of those tasks may be increasingly automated. Some of the computer languages will change. The way we handle data sets will change over time. What we mean by big data versus small data or data at all will change meaningfully in our lifetime, certainly more likely in the next 5 to 10 years, as it already has. So technology will continue to evolve and change. So that's why I think it's so important to have the foundation straight, right? Math, science, algorithms, scientific theory, to really understand the foundational elements of STEM in order to be effective at pivoting, transforming yourself. So as a company and the business you're in maybe is disrupted, you're not disrupted personally. You can be the disruptor because you've got the foundational skills to be able to execute. I think also, lastly, kind of some of what's true today, as I said, mathematical theorems, physical laws, etc., will always be true. There are other things that are true today that may not always be true. Today it's relatively true that a computer is a CPU surrounded by a disk, memory, network, and other elements, the von Neumann architecture. That may not always be true. In fact, HP Labs is working on a model where memory becomes the center of the computer, and it changes in many ways the paradigm of how you think about compute, how you think about developing solutions, how you think about the reality of information technology. So again, in order to be capable of leading in this next era, in this current era, you need to have the foundational elements understood, the core STEM education straight, so that you can be effective at being the disruptor and not the disrupted over time. So with that, I think one of the reasons HP has had a long-standing investment in STEM education and the communities it lives in investing in emerging communities, and a very healthy program around new employees. So we have a new employee network, a young employee network at HP that is community-led, much like the one at Tata, where lots of folks from around the globe are interacting, supporting each other through technical education, through onboarding and business knowledge and business education, and support through the networks that were mentioned as being so important. So net, I think core STEM education vital to our current and future economy, and over time, I think it's going to be what drives the future economy of the world. Core technology versus just specific skills around programming and languages. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ralph, and thank you for your leadership and certainly to your great contribution. Next, we'd like to introduce Michael Keithley, Chief Information Officer for Creative Artists Agency, which is the world-leading entertainment and sports agency with several offices around the world. Keithley is responsible for all of the facets of information technology at the agency, including strategy, applications, infrastructure, support, and execution, along with advising CIA's agents and clients on digital and technology-related issues. In addition to his IT responsibilities, he collaborates on all areas of the agency, including business development, corporate consulting, social media, digital media, and entertainment marketing business units, among others. Michael?
Thank you, Lorena. And I, first of all, have to say what a great panelist we've had and speakers, and I totally agree with everything everybody said. For those of you who don't know who CA is, like Lorena said, we're a leading entertainment and sports agency. We represent people working in film, television, music, video games, theater, and digital content. And we also represent more than 1,000 of the world's top athletes in football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, tennis, golf, etc. And what I'd like to talk about today and share with you is a few slides here about STEM at CAA. Can everybody see that? Everything good? Yeah. Okay, great. Fantastic. So we at CA really, okay, so here we go. Let me switch here. Perfect. Okay, STEM in the entertainment industry. So like Ralph said, you know, the future and technology's implication in the future and disruption are tightly twined. And in the entertainment industry, you know, we've kind of been on the forefront of that. And I think technology is affecting everything. And if you think back to when Napster disrupted kind of the music business, and everything about technology and its implications for both creation of content, how that is distributed, and how it gets consumed are changing. So the entertainment industry has a vested interest in really dealing with STEM and dealing with this issue. And we realized that, you know, fixing it's not going to be easy. It's really kind of a deeply rooted systemic problem. It's going to take time to solve this, and you have multiple ways that we're going to have to attack this. And so we're working with the entertainment industry to promote STEM. And at CA, we're really doing it on several fronts. I think one of the most important things, and several folks have talked about today, is the importance of role models. And so we need young kids, especially girls, to be able to look up to role models, to be able to dream about these kinds of jobs and doing these kinds of things and get inspired about it. And so because of our kind of unique place within the entertainment ecosystem, we're working very hard with the industry to promote role models in film, TV, music, and sports. Another thing we're doing is in internships, and we really believe that it's important for us to proactively go find diverse candidates with the goal of ultimately hiring them, and hopefully they'll be role models internally. And then we're taking a look at our hiring practices and how we word our job descriptions. We need to make them gender neutral, and we need to make them approachable. And then whenever we are making a hiring decision, it's always important to have women in the hiring pool. And mentoring, you know, several folks have talked about that today, and I think it's kind of obvious, but it goes out saying excuse me, how important it is to proactively mentor potential leaders. Then we have outreach. We've worked with over 50 different STEM organizations to kind of amplify our effect of what we're doing and try to get some network effects. We have employee salary, yeah, what I'm looking for. Employee deductions, where we fund field trips to exciting places for local students. So we've gone to places like the Jet Propulsion Lab, to SpaceX, to Google, Microsoft, studios, and networks, and let them actually go see what it's like working in these STEM jobs. And then awareness. You know, we have what we call STEM Day in all of our offices around the globe, where we really bring clients in and expose students to clients, and so they can kind of get a sense for what these STEM type jobs are and what they could be for them. And then finally, and probably the most impactful, I think, of what we've done is we bring kids, we bus kids here from local schools to experience STEM activities. And one of the workshops that we've done, and you can see some pictures here, we've actually trained over 5,500 students, and we're trying to engage these students with technology to kind of develop real-world skills. And we've done some on video editing and kind of the technology of the entertainment industry. We've done robotics things, and we've done several kind of learning to code type things. They've been very successful. And our goal is to really kind of establish a link between, you know, education and their education and STEM careers, and help them vision a path to be able to get to one of these STEM careers and these jobs when they graduate. And we've also exposed them to mentorship, so folks within CA family taking people under their wing and mentoring them. And we've had a very successful job shadowing program. One of the other workshops that's really been successful for us, we've had many of these, is what we call Hour of Code, where we're engaging students in real-world, kind of hands-on coding projects. And the goal is to get them to have employable skills that are really relevant to the 21st century jobs that are out there. And so they've learned things like JavaScript and HTML and CSS coding. And then really exposing them to internships at local tech companies. So we partner with some of our local technology companies, and our graduates, if you will, of the Hour of Code can go be interns at those places. And then finally, we have some kind of our current focus is really around women in technology. And we had a fantastic event where we took some incredible female leaders in both technology and venture capital world, and we had a panel and a bunch of stuff around that was really successful, and it really galvanized the kind of the Southern California world to really help make a difference for women in technology. And then, like I said, internships. We've taken our company's goal of attracting diverse students that want to work on the kind of core agency side of the business, and we're extending that to students that are working in technology. And so STEM is really critical, and building a pipeline of folks to come up for STEM jobs we view as kind of an existential threat, and we're really taking it serious. And with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, it is a joy, Michael, for creative artists, and what you've talked about with the innovation, the mentorship, and we love the women and girls, clearly. So, and we just want to say to creative artists, we're thrilled that we'll be a partner, thrilled with what you're doing in terms of really driving the innovation envelope. I think we have two next guests. We're going to soon introduce the Chief Technology Officer, Executive Vice President for SAS, which I think everybody knows, the SAS Institute. But we have a special treat now, because we have the pleasure of getting together with the head, clearly, Roshan is the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, known around the world, and came from the Federal Reserve, of the Federal Reserve. Today they released 10-year projections on certain jobs, including nursing and others, But we know when we get the data on the future of technology or in any profession of employers, it is the BLS that really drives statistics and data that business uses in its planning purposes. So we want to take a break and say what a treat it is to hear Erica Goshen, Commissioner, BLS. Erica?
Thank you, Edie, and good afternoon. It's great to be here with you at this STEM Town Hall. As Edie said, BLS is, we're the second largest part of the U.S. statistical system, and our whole job is to help you make smart decisions in your homes, in your businesses, and in any kind of policy. And this Hangout's focus on STEM careers is timed perfectly because just this morning we did something we only do every years. We released employment projections about the labor market that cover the years from 2014 to 2024. So looking at the labor market 10 years in the future helps us to provide data users, really decision makers, with the information that they need when they choose a career or decide on educational choices or training that's important to their success in whatever realm they're in. So we released those numbers at 10 o'clock this morning along with interactive charts and infographics. So I encourage you to go to our website and download them and take a look at them and read some of the articles that we released at the same time. Just to give you a teaser for what it is that we have, let me tell you a few fun facts. Here are just a few of the things that you'll find in today's release. Computer and mathematical occupations are projected to grow 13.1% during this 10-year period, nearly twice as fast as the average for all occupations. Software developers and computer systems analysts will each add more than 100,000 jobs during that time period. And web developers and information security analysts, which are smaller occupations, will contribute fewer new jobs, but they're growing much faster than average. And overall, with a median annual wage of $79,420 in 2014, computer and mathematical occupations are the second highest paying occupational group, trailing only management occupations. So that gives you a flavor for some of the important information that you now have gold standard statistics to use. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this important meeting. I look forward to ongoing conversations with you and figuring out more ways that the BLS can help you make the decisions that you need to make going forward, particularly in promoting a vibrant economy, one full of really fulfilling STEM careers. And thank you very much, Edie.
So, mission preparation. And we really think this is important today on 2014 to 2024. You will see that in STEM Daily. We are thrilled to announce to the group that BLS and the Commissioner will join us for our Global Talent Summit, April 28th. Thank you for providing the data that so many quote in all the job sources. A big salute as you drive statistics and data for the future, and as today you went through the importance of computer science and technology, so important to Computer Science Week in our nation and our world. We want to turn next to Armistead Sapp. Armistead is the Executive Vice President and Chief Technology Officer of the SAS Institute in North Carolina. I think you know the importance of what they do in software development and in business analytics, and #1 in the largest independent vendor in business intelligence market. And besides that, they give back to the schools and to STEM education at all levels. And he sits on the board of Ready for 21, which helps the communities really improve those skills to really get into college careers. So on and on, Armistead, you've done a fabulous job in the 100 CIOs, CTOs, and we salute you and SAS. Armistead, SAS.
Hello, yes, I'm glad to be talking today. SAS is a provider of analytical software, and we feel very strongly about the software that we provide. We also are very heavily involved in education, and around the world, we have some 39,000 students using SAS software in higher education right now, enrolled in college, finishing up this semester. And we've grown 50% or so each year for the last 5 years in terms of that. We've had 450,000 downloads of University Edition, which is our SAS software for teaching in universities. We're a world leader in SAS software, as a world leader in analytics software. We have 14,000 employees, 400 offices in 56 countries. We have about 75,000 customers, including the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Census Bureau in the United States. And we're very proud to have them as a customer. And we've had 39 years of growth in this market. Pretty much, STEM is important to SAS because we see that the new STEM jobs that are being created, as the BLS was just mentioning, are going into computing, and that's an area that we're very interested in training the next generation of SAS users. We have, as you mentioned, we have software offerings and programs for even elementary school students, an Algebra 1 full course that's online, programming for high school students, Analytics U, which we involve, as I said, almost 40,000 students in free software and the ability for the professors to use data mining and visualization software in classes. We have university partnerships all over the world doing master's degree programs, and we've just started a SAS Academy for Data Science. I've written a book on longitudinal data systems for education, and we're very interested in helping education as a business, as the business of education, understand its students and how well they're training them. We were involved in one-to-one initiatives and flipping the classroom and project-based learning. We have a SAS STEM Career Day each year, and we also have Computer Science Education Week, which I think is going on this week, or is it last week? I don't know which week it is, but it's currently going on. Also, for in the North Carolina area, we have a math summit where we train in the 5 counties around SAS Institute, which is a large metropolitan area, Raleigh, North Carolina. We train all the middle school math teachers in interesting ways to teach mathematics. Here's a picture of our founder with some 5th graders who did some data science projects and came and presented them on the World Cup soccer and on basketball and on a pet shelter volunteer and analyzed the adoption rate of folks with black dog syndrome. And that's my presentation. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We want to really thank every speaker this afternoon. Everybody was amazing. A lot of data, a lot of good thoughts to be shared, a lot of learning. And we want to also encourage to everybody to continue the conversation via Twitter and social media. Remember, the hashtag is 100STEM Leaders. We're going to make sure that we circle back with some of the comments with each of the speakers. And you also have their Twitter handles as we sent a reminder this morning with all of it. So we want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank everyone, and we want to continue the conversation with each of you. So please stay in touch, and let's make sure that we continue to work as a team.
What a great way to celebrate Computer Science Week with all of you. So for the 6 key speakers that are driving employment in America, and your commitment to STEM, your commitment to mentoring and to women's mentoring, and to the head of the BLS, this has been an extraordinary presentation. And a shout out to our team, with a particular shout out to Lorena Fimbrace. Thank you so much.
Thanks to the whole team. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, team.
Happy holidays.